Hello, lovelies. Welcome back to my channel. Cory here. And today I wanted to discuss initiations with you. This is somewhat of a video response to Benebell Wen's Benebell Chimes In, or Bell Chimes In, her video series, and her video on initiations. Initiations have been something of a topic that's been on my mind for a little while now. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that my self-dedication ceremony, the anniversary of that, is coming up. In Yule 2000, I self-dedicated to Wicca. And so Yule holds a very special place in my heart. It is a very special time of year for me because of that anniversary. And we're coming up on the 17th anniversary of that dedication. And that really, if we're going to talk about initiation, that was a self-initiation. Absolutely, it was. I initiated myself into the pathway of Wicca and into really the practice of witchcraft. I became a witch on that day because I declared it. And really, that's at the heart of what an initiation is, isn't it? I mean, if we look at initiations throughout culture, and we look at self-initiation, right? We're looking at an intention, a declaration. And in that moment, on Yule, on the winter solstice, I said, you know what? Goddess, I'm here. I'm yours. I'm dedicated to following this path. I am an instrument of balance, of healing. Use me. And I think that's why it holds a very special place for me. There was a large ceremonial component to that. In that year, I was 15 years old at the time. I just turned 15 in August. And this was very important to me. I actually followed the self-dedication ritual that Scott Cunningham has in his Wicca Solitary Guide for the Practitioner book, with the exception being that I did it indoors, because me creeping outside at night to do a self-dedication ceremony would have tipped off my mom to be like, what the hell are you doing? And even though my mother was fully aware of my interest in my dedicating to this path, your daughter sneaking out at night at 15 still kind of sets your teeth on edge as a parent. So I, did it indoors, and I just, lit a couple candles. I read from the book because honestly I was so nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, help me here. And I couldn't memorize anything for the life of me. I had kept trying to memorize it so that I didn't need the book, and I couldn't do it. I was so nervous, which oddly enough, I think is part of the reason why a couple years later on Yule 2003, so 3 years later, I decided to rededicate myself. And in that moment, I didn't even actually use a ceremony. I stood outside and I said exactly what I just said to you, just about almost verbatim. I was like, Goddess, I am here. I am really here. I am present. The last 3 years have been study, and me trying to grapple with this decision. But you know what? I am in. I am all in. And in a lot of ways, that was more of what would have stood for my first degree initiation, from what would be in a traditional coven setting. Initiations today, I kind of feel like, are losing their sacredness as far as our Western culture is concerned. There are other initiations that we go through in life. One of those being becoming a mom. That's something else that was very sacred to me, that was very, I can't even describe it really to you. It was a spiritual experience for me as much as it was a physical. And I know a lot of women go through pregnancy and birth differently. And I completely respect everybody's experience with that. You know, your experience is your experience. And how you feel about it is how you feel about it. For me, it was a spiritual experience. The goddess Bridget was with me and even served as somewhat of a spiritual doula for me as I was becoming a mom. I was giving birth to my daughter. And that was even more impactful for me. My mother passed away 3 months after my daughter was born, 3 months after I became a mom. And to make that transition into motherhood at the same time losing my mother, to me, those were two different initiations. They were initiations of different things and for different reasons, but I still consider them initiations nonetheless. Giving birth to my daughter, being initiated into parenthood on a physical and spiritual level, was an experience. It was an experience. I don't know if I can describe it really any other way for you. And I subsequently gave birth to 3 more children, one my own, and in fact, 1 or 2 as a gestational carrier, as a surrogate. And I am in fact embarking on a 3rd surrogacy journey to carry and deliver a 5th child. And this is something that holds very dear to me. Being able to help a family grow is a very humbling experience. And also, again, a very spiritual experience. Even that could be considered an initiation of itself. Getting your first period as a woman would be another initiation. And I feel in our Western culture, we strip away the ceremony, we strip away the sacredness of these physical initiations. Being initiated into womanhood, being initiated into parenthood. I feel the layers just have gotten peeled back so far over the last centuries, to the point where we don't recognize it as an initiation. We don't recognize it as something sacred. For me, when I walked into the hospital, each time, all 4 times, to give birth to those children, I was treated as a woman who had a condition called pregnancy. And my doctor's first priority was to eliminate said condition by having me give birth. But that's how it was treated. You know, I wasn't treated as a woman going through something really cool and something amazing that, you know, my body is built to do naturally. I was treated as a patient in the truest sense of the word. I came in and I had a condition. I had an ailment. I had a parasite, if you will. And the goal was to get that thing out so I could be sent on my way. That's not an initiation experience that any mother should have to go through. That's what happened. I still don't treat it as anything less sacred, as any less meaningful. I choose to look at those births as something magical. Even if they took place in a sterile environment and I was treated as a patient as opposed to a woman about to give birth. But I know as a woman and a mother, this isn't necessarily something that I want my daughter to go through should she decide to have children in the future. She's only 7 now, so any luck, that's a very, very long way off. But should she choose to have children of her own, I want her to see this as an initiation, to see this as a sacred ceremony into motherhood and all that that entails, both physically and spiritually. And I also want my son to see that as well, because you know what, fathers, dads, you guys go through that initiation yourselves as well. It's on a different level because you're not quite feeling it as much physically, although there is a physical alteration that takes place. I mean, you're sleep deprived, you're going through the same emotional roller coasters, which, you know, takes a physical toll on your body. There is a physical change that takes place, absolutely, with fathers, with that initiation. There is still an initiation, and I feel like that should be honored, especially on the level of society. You know, we choose whether or not we honor this on an individual level, and then we've got families, you know, another layer there, which are with us and support us and honor us during those times of initiation. And then we've got the level of society. And society just isn't there. I don't feel like that support is there for folks when they go through certain initiations. I've realized that nearly all of my initiations I had to do on my own. My initiation into Wicca, my initiation into womanhood, my period. When that sucker showed up, I ran into the house and I was like, ah! And my dad and my sister were home. And neither one looked up from what they were doing. They were just like, whatever. Which, you know, I guess from my dad's perspective, I get it. I mean, he lived in a house full of women. So, you know, his nonchalantness it is what it is. But from a parental perspective, you know, having a little bit of support there would have been nice. And from my older sister, you know, also, it is what it is. But even going through school, you know, with those initiations that we have, those first days of school, a lot of the times I felt like I was going through all of this by myself. Birth. I had a room full of people and really I felt like it was just me and the kid. And we had to figure it out. Luckily, I did feel Bridget with me all 4 times. So that was a lot less lonely. But in a lot of the other initiations, as far as like people surrounding me and supporting me, that really wasn't there a lot of the times. My husband, bless his heart, has been there for each one of my deliveries, even as a surrogate, and has, you know, been my birth doula and coached me through everything. But even afterwards, the healing process, mentally processing what's happening after each one of these initiations, you know, there are initiations into fraternities, sororities. But a lot of these initiations feel just, they're there as a form of function as opposed to being there as a form of ceremony and honor and ritual, dare I say. I feel the magical element or component of initiation has been stripped away from the Western world, if I were to boil it down. And so I guess my point of this video is I'm coming up on Yule and thinking about initiation and self-dedication, especially as I have little ones, where I'm thinking about their initiations coming up. And whatever religious initiation that they want to do, whether they want to initiate into a Christian sect, you know, like their father and get baptized, whether or not they want to initiate into Wicca and have me create a ceremony for them and be there to support them on that journey, taking that first step. And even my daughter's first period and what I'm going to do about that. And even into being initiated into adulthood, you know, turning 18, graduating from high school, these are all initiations, right? Graduation, initiation into adulthood. Here's your diploma, go out, find a job, have a nice life. I want there to be more of a ceremonial component to that. I want acknowledgement to be there. I want to acknowledge each of these steps that my children make in their lives to say, yes, you did it. You came this far. You conquered this. And now we're welcoming you into the next phase of your life. And doing that in such a way that they feel acknowledged and honored. And maybe that's really the point of my video is I'm asking you guys, you know, in a call to arms sort of way, if you'll join me in that. If you will join me in reclaiming the ceremony of initiation in the Western world. Whatever you believe in, you know, you don't need to be Wiccan to go through initiation. Absolutely not. You can be Muslim or Jewish or follow the Hindu faith or the Buddhist faith or really just being a theist in general or even agnostic. You can add a level of ceremony and acknowledgement and honor to any type of initiation, be it spiritual or a mundane initiation. And I would like your thoughts on how you feel about the Western world and how we treat initiation, and whether or not you want to join me in reclaiming some of that sacredness. So I hope you'll share your thoughts with me, lovelies. Thank you so much for joining me in this, metaphysical musings video, and I hope to see you in the next one. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe so that you don't miss it. And until next time, blessed be.